Alright, welcome back to the shop. Today is part 2 of the Perfect Handle automotive pry tool. I keep calling it a tire spoon, and that, you know, that might not be entirely true. If you look at the very beginning, and I'll insert the picture again here, but it's actually called an automotive pry tool. And I was thinking about it. It's probably not fair for me to keep calling this a tire spoon, because there's probably applications beyond that. I don't know, although I should know more about Model Ts and Model As and stuff like that, because my parents own a Model T. But anyway, I imagine there's a lot of applications for old style automotives, rims and things like that. If I recall correctly, those rims might be like a hollow rim with retainer caps on them. They don't have traditional lug nuts. But anyway, it's been a while since I looked at it, and that machine's pretty far away, so I can't go snap a picture or anything. So anyway, this is called an automotive pry tool, and there's probably some other applications outside of the tire removal that process that this is suited for. So anyway, just with that being said, it's a little caveat to my discussions here, and you know, if there is some other blatant example of how this might be used, I'd like to hear it. So feel free to, if you know how this thing might have been used for automotive applications, leave it in the comments. That'd be nice to know. Sort of get me out of this rut about thinking about tools in one way or one fashion, or just what I know to be true so far. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this super rough Cubitron belt to start bringing this down to size. Yeah, I've got the 2 holes drilled and lined up. God, I hope I did that right. Anyway, we'll find out. Anyway, the 2 holes drilled and lined up right now, so I'm going to start paring this down, and we'll see how it goes. Now you want to try to drill these holes before you get down to the finish size, because if you have any tear out when you're drilling the hole, you don't want it to just come through and bust out and tear it up. On one of my other tools, it had done that. But so anyway, just drill the holes ahead of time. That might help you out. But this Cubitron belt is working really well. It's doing a good job with getting it down to the rough size now. It actually moves so much material, I might have to switch over to a finer belt just so I don't get ahead of myself and gouge a big hole in this. But anyway, this is working pretty good, and I think I'm gonna get the handle down to pretty damn close to where I want it, and then I'm gonna switch over and then start cleaning the actual metal up. And well, anyway, we'll see exactly how the order of operations goes with this. I might do the brass because I'm getting pretty close to that now, and then come through, and I plan on cleaning it up with some Scotch-Brite wheels, and then maybe even coming over and do a little polishing with some real fine sandpaper. So we'll see how that goes. think I'm going to go over to the belt sander because it gives me a little bit of the bigger platen on the back of it. Gives me a sort of a straighter edge, and I liked it how it worked on the monkey wrench wooden handle, so I'm going to bring it over there. Alright, so we've got this more or less roughed out. The overall feel of it and everything seems about right to me. But what happens when I'm working on either this belt sander or when I'm working on the other belt sander that we just came from? When I'm working on that, I'm sort of working blindly. I can't, when I'm looking at it, I sort of have this perspective. And I can't tell what's going on. Now, I have a feeling what's going on, and I can hear what's going on. And that's when it really pays to have a nice quiet machine, so you can really hear and see what the cutting is doing, whether I'm cutting wood or cutting metal. There's a sort of a distinct sound there. But anyway, in this particular point in this restoration, I really need to know what the hell's going on, because there's a metal underneath epoxy and wood. And in order for me to really get in there and clean that up nicely, I need something that I can quickly see where I'm at with it. So what I'm going to do here is switch over to a finer sanding disc, not these this really abrasive flappy, but I'll find something less coarse, hopefully, and come over and start pulling this down to the approximate size. And I think I'm gonna, but before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to installing the brass pins. So, let me get this sander out of the way. Get to work on that. Alright, so I've got the two brass rods in here now, and you can sort of see how they're protruding about a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, give or take. And you want to try to swell these up, and I've sort of gone through initially and give them a pretty good solid hit. I mean, this is a massive hammer, so I want to just try to get them to swell up enough to stick so that I can come through and sand these down to just about pretty close to 32nd, just really damn close to the outside, because you don't want them to bend over. If you leave them too long, they'll just kink like that. So that's bad, and you don't want to, if you had a nice press or something like Scout Crafter had, I'm sure you could use that to swell these up. But you don't want to get overzealous, because what you're doing is you're effectively making these wider, and you're working against the grain here. So to split these wouldn't take a whole lot of power. What I think I'm sort of kicking myself for now is I didn't bevel the edges of these. I probably should have beveled the outside of this just a touch. It's a mistake I sort of can't get there now. But anyway, I'm going to keep going forward and sand these down till they're pretty close, and then I'm going to finish smashing on them with a hammer, and that should lock them in place. Alright, so those are just barely sticking out now. Alright, so those are on there pretty good at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working on the wooden part, try to get down to the metal, and then once I get down to the metal, then I'll begin cleaning up the rest of this. So, see how that goes. Alright, so hopefully you can see that by cleaning it up, I've just gone through real lightly with the semi-abrasive. I don't know what grit that is. Probably 120 or something like that. Fairly aggressive, and gone through and knocked off there's just the coarse roughness from the surface rust that was on there. I am not worried about the imperfections from this tool being used. That's fine. I think it adds to the character. I'm going to leave that on there. But what I want to do is just take out the really light pitting that makes it look like crap, smooth it out, but not remove any real material, and then I'm going to come back and sort of polish it up a little bit. And the good thing about this is it's got this nice recessed section here, and that is going to keep me from getting into the maker's mark on this, so that's not going to be affected at all by this process. So. Alright, so I've got the handle pretty well finished. The brass is sanded down in there now. It's just about how I want it. So what I'm going to do now is this is what happens when you do this stuff. Your hands get to be filthy and everything you touch, you just ruin it. So I've got to handle this thing from the end now for fear of messing the end up. But the wood, I'm not quite ready to treat that yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tape the handle off here and here, and then I'm going to paint the inside here. I think watching Scott Crafter's channel, he does some really nice restorations. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But he likes to paint the inside here, then take a little piece of wood, a tongue depressor or whatever, and then tape a piece of cloth on the end of it with some mineral spirits and use it to clean up the edge, and it just looks great. So I think I'm going to try that. It'll be the first time I've tried something like that, so anyway, wish me luck. Pardon me. Anyway, I'm going to take this off, paint it, and bring you back. Alright, sorry about that change of plan. I was thinking, I hate spray painting. I have maybe 1 out of every 5 projects goes well. And it just something I don't look forward to. I hate taping. I'd have to, you see kind of shitty job I did taping this off, and then I come back and sand it off, and you know, it just sucks. But I saw somebody use, I guess they call them tester paints. Tester cans, the little model cars and model planes and dioramas, stuff like that. They use a little tester paint thing for, and somebody did a restoration with it. I said, you know, that's a great idea. Because you can buy, I don't know, 50 cents for color or something like that. They're not very much. I'm just guessing at the price. I don't know what they really are. But anyway, I've got all sorts of paint laying around, and I got some little brushes. Let me try to paint this thing. See what happens. Alright, so we've done a little painting, and that's drying. I still have to come back and clean it up and whatnot, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and stain the handle. This is a gun stock. This is an old container, so it's all faded out. But anyway, hopefully this looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and just wipe it down with a clean rag. Let's see how that works. Boy, that stain sure does make that wood look great. That really makes it look nice. Now I imagine it's going to take a couple coats of this stain to really sink down in there, and then we'll come back and proceed to finish polishing this, and then probably going to end up shellacking it, I imagine. Gonna have to hang this puppy on the wall. Alright, so there it is, the H.D. Smith Company, the perfect handle automotive pry tool. This has turned out really well. I'd like to thank Rusty for go ahead and making the trade for me. This is the paint there I think has turned out pretty good. I really like the gray. I like Scout Crafter's red in his tools, but you know, I gotta try to be original. So so anyway, I did the gray on the inside. That came out pretty nice. I've got the gun stock stain on the handle. It turns out that according to the instructions, it takes about 48 hours for the stain to dry properly, and then the coats in between, you know, the longer you leave in between, the better. And I'm gonna probably put 4 or 5 coats of stain on here, and then come back and shellac it. And then before I even shellac it, I have to wait 2 days for this to dry. So or else otherwise I run the risk of sealing in the wet stain. So this is not completely finished. I will come back at a later date when I do the other tool, and by then I'll have enough time to slowly and carefully and correctly apply the stain and the shellac and finish this all up. But anyway, this is going to conclude the second part of this video. I will revisit again in the future, but in the interest of getting videos out and not waiting another week and a half or 2 weeks to publish this one, I'm going to go ahead and conclude with these final shots and say thank you for watching. If you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe, like, dislike, comment. Any sort of feedback is appreciated. Thanks. Have a good night.